Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes, and welcome back to our witchcraft study series. This is a quarterly series that gets a little more educational than the other episodes here on Witchy Work Wishes. Today we are actually diving into the basics yet again and talking about Witchcraft 103, the actual types of spells that we have in our craft and how to write them. But first, I am so excited to share that we have officially grown to over 3,000 followers on Instagram, and I am honestly so happy and so excited, and I could not be more grateful. Every like, every comment, every time you share a post or tag a friend, it all matters. And it's not just numbers on a screen for me. It is our Witchy Work Wishes family expanding, one beautiful soul at a time. Your support helps keep this magical momentum going. It helps, new witches find their way to our circle. And it helps our spells and stories and rituals reach the people who need them. And it reminds me every day that this work, this path, that we are walking together, it is just deeply needed and deeply loved. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for following and sharing and, just showing up in the energy of connection. Now, there are 4 main areas that I update often as far as, Witchy Work Wishes goes. The website really has everything. It is the best place to head to first if you are new to our family. But I also do updates with our Patreon family over on that channel. I update Instagram with links to the weekly podcast after it is aired. And I also have Hearth and Hen. Now, this is kind of a new segment to Witchy Work Wishes that is in progress with a fall 2025 launch scheduled. I do have a blog going for Hearth and Hen, though, so you can see the updates, the work, and the additions as they unfold. But honestly, just head to the website first. It literally is the main hub for everything. All right, we're going to jump right into things today. We are adding on to our Witchcraft 101 series today and diving deep into the types of spells that we work with, and then how to craft one of your own. Today, I am going to ask something of you. Just to listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. We are walking into a part of the craft that often stirs the deepest parts of who we are. It's the art of spell casting, the dual energy that pulses through it, dark and light, shadow and shine. We live in a world that just loves to divide things into good or bad, black or white, safe or dangerous. But you know what? Witchcraft has never lived in such stark contrasts. It's a little messy, it's definitely layered, it's nuanced, it holds multitudes. So today I really do invite you to release the need to judge maybe what you don't yet understand. I ask you to come to this topic the way a true witch approaches the work, with reverence, with a little curiosity, and definitely with an open mind. Light magic, like gentle, radiant, full of love, is certainly easy to celebrate, isn't it? It blesses, it heals, it protects and grows. But what of, the magic that defends and serves or rises in righteous rage? Dark magic often gets whispered about in cautionary tones, little misunderstood at times, and it's definitely misnamed. And yet, it is a sacred and necessary part of the whole that we are. Just as night follows day, just as the waning moon makes space for the rest and release that we so desperately need, so too does shadow have its place in our practice. Now, this is not an episode meant to glorify one path over the other, nor to convince you to walk a road that doesn't feel true, like to your soul. Instead, It is an offering, a little lantern held at the crossroads, a reminder that our power doesn't only live in the softness of a love spell or the glow of a white candle. It also lives in the firm boundary, the protective ward, the ancestral voice that says, I will not be broken. To work with both light and dark energies is not to become dangerous, it is to become whole. And wholeness is the real power, isn't it? It is the magic that knows when to nurture and when to sever, when to invite and when to send away, when to love fiercely and when to let go completely. So take a deep breath with me now. Inhale the shimmer of possibility. Exhale any fear of the unknown. You are safe here. You are supported here. And most importantly, you are trusted to decide what kind of witch you are becoming. And spoiler, we are constantly evolving. What suited you last year, last month? Oh my gosh, last week, right? For some of us, last week. It might not suit you right now. So let's explore both sides of the craft with humility, with wisdom, and with the courage to step into our own unique power, light, dark, and the wild beauty in between. Here we go with Witchcraft 103. And today we are talking about the difference between dark and light magic in our craft. Is there a true division or only movement through the spectrum of energy? It is a big subject today, but it is needed in this first 100 series because just as the moon waxes and wanes, so does our magic. We are not beings of constant sunlight, nor are we shaped only by shadow. We are woven of both, and the same can be said of our spell work. People speak of light magic. I think they often mean spells rooted in, like healing, protection, abundance, and joy. This is the magic of blessings and beauty, right? The honey jars and the pink candles, the morning rituals of peace, the charms hung on doorways to welcome love and keep harm at bay. It is the magic of new beginnings, growth, and that gentle encouragement. This kind of magic often calls upon, our angels, our ancestors, our deities of the sun or the sky. It is uplifting, it is radiant, and it is nourishing. But if we only ever practice in the light, we risk spiritual bypassing. We ignore the full story, right? It's life. It's not always sweet and sunny. There's grief, there's betrayal, there is illness, there is injustice. And these live in the shadow. And this is where dark magic rises to meet us, not as something evil or forbidden, but something a little ancient, potent, and deeply sacred. Now, dark magic, I think, has often been misunderstood. It is the realm of banishings, bindings, and yes, even hexes. It is the protective mother who hisses when her child is threatened. It is the spell that says, no more. It is the magic that works with bones and ashes, with graveyard dirt and silence. It is the whisper of a crone at midnight, drawing a line in salt across her doorstep. It is justice when justice fails. But dark magic is not hate. It's more like sovereignty. It is accountability. It is a spell you cast when your own power must rise like storm clouds to shield what you love. We've been told to fear the dark, haven't we? To believe that anything hidden must be dangerous. But what if the dark is like simply where we go to heal, to bleed, to be honest about our rage, our grief, and our boundaries? I think many witches feel more at home in the shadows. Others dance between both worlds. Neither path is superior. Both of them are valid. Both of them are part of the whole. Light magic and dark magic are not opposing forces either. They are like complementary tools in our hands. One softens, one protects, one invites, one defends. And you know what? Sometimes the most loving spell is the one that removes what no longer serves us. And sometimes the brightest protection shines from a shadow cast. The true difference lies not in the color of the candle, but in the intention behind it. So just ask yourself, why am I doing the spell? What is it fueled by? Clarity or impulse? Is this for healing or is it for harm? Am I crossing someone's will or am I reclaiming my own? When we work from a place, like a deep awareness place, and respect our craft, both light and dark become sacred. We don't need to divide ourselves into white witches or shadow workers. We simply are witches, learning, listening, honoring the whole cycle: birth, life, death, and rebirth. So when you write your spells, when you reach for your tools, I would say, don't be afraid of either side. The sun and the moon each rise in their own time. I say, let your magic rise too. All right, we're going to start with light magic, the working with healing, blessing, and growth type magic. This magic is it's like the soft hum of sunrise. It's the warm hands of a healer, the whispered prayers that we speak over boiling water or beneath the full moon. It is the most commonly embraced form of spell work, for sure. Gentle, nurturing, and it is filled with the intention to uplift, restore, and grow. This kind of magic doesn't shy away from power. That's not what I'm saying. It just wields it with care. It leans into compassion, balance, and divine timing. When we work with light magic, we align ourselves with the energies of creation, hope, and like that life force. It is the spell work of green things growing, of doors opening, of hearts softening. It is often tied to the waxing moon, to springtime, to Venus and Jupiter, those cosmic allies of love, luck, and abundance. Now, healing spells help us, tend to the wounds that the world sometimes doesn't see. They restore energy and balance the spirit and hold space for emotional renewal. Blessing spells, on the other hand, are more like energetic love letters offered to people and homes and tools or new beginnings. And then our growth spells, oh gosh, they're like the sacred push that we give ourselves when we are ready to expand and flourish and just stretch up towards the sky. But don't mistake light magic for weakness. It takes courage to hold hope, doesn't it? Like, it takes strength to bless what we've been taught to fear. And it certainly takes powerful intention to plant something new in a world that often tries to keep us small. Now, in the next part of this episode, we are going to explore the most common forms of light magic. Again, the healing, the blessing, and the spells for growth and manifestation. I'm going to walk you through the kinds of tools and timings that amplify this energy, and then, how you can create your own practices that gently but powerfully bring light into your life and the lives of others. There are many types of light magic, but our top most commonly used are probably going to land on blessing spells, healing spells, protection spells, manifestation and abundance spells, and then our self-care spells with, love and self-worth. Let's go ahead and start with the blessing spells, those that are infusing the world with light and intention. These spells have a quiet, radiant power that doesn't seek to control or change. It really honors and uplifts. Right? Blessing spells are some of the most beautiful and certainly accessible workings in the craft. They are pure acts of intention offered to people, places, and sacred objects as a way of saying, hey, you are loved, you are protected, and you are welcome here. Unlike more complex spells that seek to draw in or push away, I think blessing spells work by infusing, right? Filling something or someone with positive energy, clarity, and often that spiritual protection. They are the energetic equivalent of a warm embrace, a big hug, or a whispered prayer, kind of wrapping the subject in light and calling in the favor of your guides, ancestors, or maybe a chosen deity. While blessings can be as simple as, words spoken from the heart, we do have some tools to kind of amplify this type of energy and this spell work. Candles, first and foremost, are the easy ones, right? Especially white gold, maybe like a soft pastel color, something to represent purity, peace, and sacred light. Oils are good too, lavender for calming, frankincense for that sacredness, or rosemary for clarity. Sacred water is good for our blessing spells. Think about your moon water, rose water, or any water that is infused with herbs and intentions for anointing. We can also use white thread and ribbon for our blessing spells. These are often going to be like tied around objects or used in knot magic to seal the blessing into place. Each of these tools act as a carrier for your intention, holding and delivering your energy like a little magical delivery system. Now, some examples of what a blessing spell might look like. Think about your home, right? A house blessing after moving into a new home. Even if you're doing maybe like just a deep seasonal clean, like many of us walk, room to room with incense or sacred water. You're saying blessings aloud at thresholds and windows. White candle may be lit in the heart of the home while herbs like rosemary and bay leaf are burned to protect and energize the space. Blessing spells also can look like, something to do with babies. The new life is such a sacred time and certainly something to be honored. So like a small sachet of calming herbs could be placed near the crib, and then the baby may be anointed with a drop of, chamomile infused oil on the crown. Prayers or chants for peace, health, and joy can be whispered as their name is spoken under the waxing moon. Another example of a blessing spell might look like an altar consecration spell. Before working at a new altar, bless the tools, anointing candles, wiping the surface with moon water, tying a white thread around a favorite wand or athame. Speaking intentions like, may this space be a beacon of truth, protection, and clear magic. Blessings can be done for yourself, before a big meeting, a hard day, or a new beginning. Speak a simple line while anointing your wrists with oil, like, I walk in strength, I move in peace. It's a blessing too, right? And blessing magic is often where I think many of us just begin. It's where we start, where we return to, though, time and time again when we need to reconnect with gentleness. It just reminds us that not all magic must push or pull. Sometimes the most transformative spells are the ones that just simply radiate. They require no grand theatrics, only your attention, your intention, and your love. Okay, next we have healing spells, our physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness type spells. Healing magic, I think, is one of the oldest and most sacred forms of spell work. Before we ever learned to hex or conjure, we learned to heal with plants, with hands, with breath, and with energy. Healing spells are gentle but fierce, born from love and fueled by the desire to restore some type of wholeness to ourselves, to our others, or even to the land. In witchcraft, healing isn't just physical. It extends to emotional wounds, spiritual disconnection, grief, exhaustion, and, that energetic depletion that happens. These spells don't aim to replace professional care or medicine. They rather are here to support and amplify the healing journey, right? Aligning intention, energy, and spiritual aid towards some type of recovery. Healing spells remind us that we are not broken. We are becoming whole again. Now, when working with healing spells, timing can offer a powerful energetic boost. Waxing moon, right, as the moon grows in the sky, it brings increase, renewal, and vitality. Perfect for healing intentions. Sunrise is a good time, a sacred time of rebirth and hope, where the solar energy supports physical and emotional regeneration. Spring, right? Just the season of spring. It is about new life, fresh energy, and restoration. Ideal for long term healing work or even those recovery spells. Now, some common tools for this type of spell work is probably going to be like those herbal sachets, even the herbal bundles, filled with soothing herbs like lavender and chamomile, calendula, mint, or rosemary even. Tucked under a pillow, we have them worn near the body somewhere, right? Or even burned as incense. Crystal grids are good here too. Stones like amethyst, rose quartz, fluorite, and clear quartz arranged intentionally with a central focus, stone just to kind of radiate healing energy outward. We've also got our healing poppets and our dolls. These can be stuffed with herbs and then some written intentions. Often these are going to be used for like sending healing energy to another person, ethically, of course, with permission. But you could also do it for yourself. So we also have salt baths and those anointing oils for our healing spells. These are, they're infused with herbs and intentions that are used for spiritual cleansing, kind of clearing pain, or even releasing some grief. Each tool works as a container for your healing intention. It's just a way to hold space for transformation. Now, some examples of healing spell work could look like, like an emotional recovery spell. Write down what you are ready to let go of on paper, burn it safely while surrounded by calming herbs and crystals. And then soak in a warm bath with lavender and Epsom salt while repeating, I am softening, I am healing, I am whole. We can also do a crystal grid for some like ongoing type recovery for our healing spell work. This would be maybe arranging a circle of amethyst and clear quartz around a photo or item linked to the person in need. Add a candle in the center. Light it daily as you send energy. Healing poppets are good for this type of spell work. Create a small doll or like a little fabric pouch. Fill it with rosemary, calendula, and rose petals. Add a little written prayer or some type of symbol, and then hold the poppet over your heart, or even give it to a friend to carry healing type energy with them. It might also look like sunrise breathing spell work, standing facing the east at dawn. Inhale deeply while imagining golden light entering your chest. Exhale slowly, visualizing the pain and the tension just dissolving into the earth. Do this 3 times while placing your hands on your heart or your belly. Healing spells don't always deliver instant results. Sometimes they simply create a space for like the real work to begin. They're powerful, not because they fix everything at once, but because they remind us to tend to ourselves, to tend to others, and to the unseen wounds that require time and care. Like to be a witch is to be a healer, even if that healing begins with ourselves. We also have protection spells, those shielding, warding, and standing strong type spells. Among the many types of magical workings that we turn to, I do think protection spells are among the most commonly practiced and perhaps maybe the most instinctual. Their purpose is simple but super, super powerful. It is to shield energy, repel harm, and create boundaries between the self and what is unwanted or unsafe. Whether it is psychic intrusion, being emotionally overwhelmed, maybe it's a spiritual attack, or even, those little mundane threats. Protection spells act as the magical equivalent of like locking your front door, putting up a shield, or drawing a boundary line in the sand. Protection magic is often perceived as neutral. It's not like inherently dark or light. I think it tends to fall under the umbrella of light work just because it centers on self-preservation, safety, and the well-being of ourselves, those we care about. It's magic with a defensive posture rather than an offensive one. These spells don't really seek to harm others. Instead, they help us like hold our ground. And for many of us, especially those who are energetically sensitive, this kind of grounding and guarding is a foundational part of our spiritual hygiene. There are countless ways to craft protection spells, depending on tradition, of course, your personal style, and the intention. But some popular tools and methods in this type of magic are going to be like, black salt circles. These are often going to be sprinkled around thresholds, around our homes, or along windowsills just to absorb negative energy and kind of ward off unwanted spirits and energy. We also have protective sigils. These are charged symbols drawn on doors, worn on jewelry, or even inscribed into talismans that just radiate shielding power. Protective magic can look like working with iron nail charms. These are rooted in folklore for sure. Iron is believed to ward off malevolent spirits. So, like a rusty nail placed above a doorway or carried discreetly in a charm bag is a classic tool of spiritual defense. Now, I personally love to use cat whiskers to help create boundaries, and I work with cat claws for protection work. But there are so many different tools and methods that are part of our craft. Now, of course, protection magic can also be spoken, visualized, or embodied, right? A chant, a whispered prayer, or even the act of just standing tall and reclaiming your space. Well, all of these carry that protective current. What matters most is your intention, your clarity, and your confidence in the spell's ability to guard what is sacred. Whether we're cleansing a space after conflict, maybe we're shielding our home during a storm, or energetically protecting ourselves before we have a hard conversation. Protection spells help us stay centered and safe and sovereign. They remind us that it is not only okay to say no, it is sometimes necessary to magically reinforce that no with power and purpose. Okay, let's see, what is next? Manifestation. Manifestation and abundance spells are all about calling in what we desire. And these are definitely part of what we would consider like light spell work. If protection spells are about holding space, manifestation and abundance spells are about filling that space with our deepest desires. These spells are designed to attract and magnetize and draw in energy, whether it is prosperity, success, love, creativity, or opportunity. This is where our magic becomes a co-creator with the universe, dancing in rhythm with possibility and lots of potential. Now, the purpose of manifestation spells is rooted in intention setting and energetic alignment. We don't just ask for what we want, we prepare ourselves to receive it. These spells work best when we are very clear about our goals and emotionally, just like ready to embody what we are calling in. Whether you are manifesting financial growth, romantic connection, or a creative breakthrough, these spells help plant seeds that grow into tangible results. Timing, of course, plays a big role in our manifestation magic. The most powerful phase of the moon for these types of spells is, from the new moon to the full moon. This is a period of growth, expansion, and that rising energy. The new moon helps us define our desires, speak them aloud, while the waxing moon just builds energy behind them until the full moon eliminates the fruition of our efforts. It is a reminder that magic, like nature, unfolds in cycles. See some examples of abundance and manifestation spells include things like, honey jar spells, right? A sweet spell used to attract love and money or peace by sweetening a situation or person. Herbs, petitions, and symbols are layered in a jar of honey, which is then sealed and regularly charged with candlelight. We also have coin charms. These enchanted coins or dollar bills are blessed with words of intention and carried in our wallets. Maybe they're kept in cash registers or they're placed near business ledgers to invite ongoing financial flow. We've also got abundance bowls. These are magical bowls filled with like herbs and crystals, affirmations, coins, even dried fruits. All symbolic offerings that act as energetic magnets for wealth and wellness. These bowls can be placed on altars or in entryways just to call in blessings. Manifestation magic reminds us that we are worthy of our dreams, not just, in some far off future, but now, like right now. It is all about opening the door to receive. These spells don't just change what flows towards us, they actually shift the internal landscape as well. Like we begin to act like someone who believes in their worth, someone who trusts that the universe is actually listening. When we align our intentions with the moon's rise, use sacred tools that resonate, and work our spells with clear hearts, we become magnetic. Abundance doesn't just visit, it settles in and it stays a while. So we also have love and self-worth type spells, opening the heart and honoring the soul. At the core of many magical paths lies a timeless desire to love and be loved. Not just romantically, but like wholly. Love and self-worth spells speak to this need, helping us draw in meaningful relationships, deepen friendships, ignite romantic sparks, and most importantly, just cultivate a relationship with ourselves that is rooted in compassion and confidence. The purpose of these spells goes beyond romance. Yes, they can be crafted to welcome partnership or deepen a bond, but they're equally powerful when focused on self-love, emotional healing, and that heart-centered confidence. When we cast spells for love and worthiness, we are declaring to the universe, hey, I am ready to love and be loved, starting with me. But before we explore the tools and techniques, let's quickly speak to one of the most important elements in love magic: ethics. Just real fast. In any spell work involving other people, especially potential romantic partners, free will must be respected. Love should never be coerced or manipulated. Spells should not override consent, or they shouldn't force emotions. Instead, they can open energetic doors. They can reveal compatibility, maybe, or even enhance communication. Ethical love magic aligns with our highest good and invites mutual desire. Okay, that's it. That said, some gentle yet effective ways to work with love and self-worth spells are going to be like those rose quartz bath rituals, soaking in warm water that is infused with rose quartz, dried rose petals, or even, lavender, while repeating affirmations of love and self-acceptance. This bath acts as both physical and energetic reset for sure, but it encourages heart healing and self-nourishment. Let's see, self-love and just the love type spells can look like pink candle dressings, using oils and herbs and carved symbols to dress a pink candle. This is going to help represent affection, compassion, and connection. These can be lit with focused intention for attracting love or, amplifying our own sense of worthiness. Affirmation mirrors are great here too. A spell of reflection and repetition where we actually speak loving words into the mirror, to ourselves daily. But we also do writing affirmations like, I am worthy of love. I radiate kindness and receive it in return. These help to turn our, mirror magic into magical tools of transformation. Whether we are trying to heal a broken heart, attract kindred friendships, or simply show ourselves the grace we often give to others, love and self-worth spells help us reconnect with the truth that we are already enough. These spells don't fix us, but they do help us remember ourselves. In a world that often tries to just kind of chip away at our confidence or disconnect us from each other, this kind of spell work is, it's like revolutionary, isn't it? It is a spell that says, I choose myself, I love deeply, and I welcome love in return, freely, joyfully, and without force. Okay, let's talk about some dark magic, shall we? The shadow side of spellcraft. So as we continue on our little journey here through the different types of spells, Starting with the light work is perfect, right? Those that bless, heal, protect, attract, and uplift. And these are all beautiful, beautiful ways that we can align our energy with light and growth and harmony. But magic, like nature, does not live only in the sunlight. There is also shadow, there is also storm, and just as the moon waxes, it also wanes. So now we're going to begin to approach a different current in magical practices, one that many practitioners avoid, fear, or even misinterpret. It is the realm of dark and baneful magic. Before we explore these tools and ethics and uses of these spells, it is important that we just pause for a moment of grounded reflection. Dark magic is not synonymous with evil. Baneful spells are not always cast with malice. In fact, many of these practices stem from a deep desire to survive, to create justice, or, to reclaim power. These are the spells that banish harm, that sever toxic ties, that bind dangerous behavior, or reflect back the energy that has been sent to us. They are rooted in pain. Yes, they are, but often also in clarity, truth, and sacred rage. Now, some of these spells are controversial, some are heavily debated, even within our own communities. But I believe magic, like real magic, is rarely only sweet. It is also raw and honest and deeply, deeply personal. And to ignore one side of the magical spectrum, it is to practice with only half of our power. So, as we move forward, I invite you to listen with an open heart and a discerning mind. What you choose to practice is always, always up to you. And the goal of this next area is not to encourage harm. It is to shine a light on what is often left in the shadows. Because when we talk about dark magic with respect, I think we just kind of reduce that fear. And when we understand its purpose, well, we reclaim choice. Okay, so what is dark magic? What is it about? What does reclaiming the shadow side of spell work mean? Now, when we hear the term dark magic, I think it often stirs something. It stirs like a little bit of fear, some curiosity, some skepticism, maybe even guilt. We've been taught by stories and society alike that dark equals dangerous, wrong, or wicked. But in the world of witchcraft, the truth is much more nuanced. Like dark magic isn't evil. It is the shadow half of a complete practice, and it deserves to be understood, not demonized. All right, dark magic encompasses the spells and rituals that confront discomfort, enforce boundaries, and work through pain, grief, and transformation. Not always pleasant, but it is often necessary. Now, this is the side of magic that says, hey, enough is enough. And it clears out what poisons us and, calls back a power to us where it belongs. In this section, I'm going to explore a handful of forms of dark or baneful magic, each with its own purpose, ethics, and considerations. I'm going to talk about banishing and reversal spells, kind of clearing out harmful energy, removing toxic people or influences, and sending back what does not belong to us. I'm going to talk about some binding spells, limiting harmful behavior or preventing someone from causing further damage. Often this is going to be protective, not punitive. I'm going to talk about some curses and hexes. Obviously, I think the most controversial of all, the dark magic. These are the spells of direct consequence or retaliation. They are used with deep intent and serious reflection. I'm going to talk about some shadow work spells, not aimed outward, but more like inward, helping us confront our own pains, flaws, and patterns so that we get to grow from them. And then I'm going to talk about some necromancy or, spirit communication, connecting with the dead, seeking wisdom from our ancestors, and, walking the veil between worlds. These practices, gosh, they just kind of live in the moonless corners of the craft, don't they? But they are not inherently negative. They are about choice, justice, survival, transformation, and power. Like all things that can be sacred when held with intention and care. Banishing and reversal magic really are spells that just clear out what is no longer welcome. This is where dark magic often begins with the courage to say, hey, no more. All right, let's start with banishing and reversal spells. Just clearing out what no longer belongs. Sometimes in our magical practice, the most loving thing we can do for ourselves is to let go, or better yet, like remove what is harming us. This is the sacred purpose behind banishing and reversal spells. These are the spells that we cast when something or someone has crossed a line. They have lingered too long, or they've begun to drain our energy. Whether it is a toxic relationship, maybe it's a self-destructive habit, or it's an external force of negativity. Banishing magic helps us cut the cord, reclaim our space, and just start fresh. Banishing spells are not about revenge. They are, in fact, about removal. Think of them as a magical eviction notice for energy that has overstayed its welcome. Reversal spells, on the other hand, they're more like magical mirrors. They reflect harm or ill will back to its source, not to punish, but to return what was never ours to carry in the first place. The tools in this kind of spell work tend to carry strong, protective, and purifying properties. Some common choices are going to be black candles, right, which absorb negative energy and create energetic boundaries. Banishing oils, often made with herbs like wormwood, rue, or rosemary. They're used to dress candles, tools, and our doorways. Bay leaves are known for protection and purification, often burned or written upon with intentions to release. And then iron again, especially in the form of nails or iron keys. They are long believed to repel spirits and cut through malevolent energy. Now, there are many ways to cast these spells, but the intention remains the same pretty much no matter what you're doing. It's to make space by clearing what no longer serves. So examples would be like a banish negativity spell, where a black candle is anointed with banishing oil and burned while reciting a chant that names the energy being released. The wax can be buried when you're done, or, the remnants tossed at a crossroads to kind of finalize that spell. You could also have a toxic tie breaking ritual where bay leaves are inscribed with names or habits, then burned or buried as symbolic severing. A piece of string may be cut as part of the ceremony, representing, the end of a binding attachment. These spells, they're deeply empowering. They don't just remove, I really think they help restore. So after banishing or reversing harmful energy, it is common for you to feel lighter and clearer and just more in control. But they also require clarity. They require emotional readiness, and they do require responsibility. So before casting, just ask yourself, what am I truly ready to release? Because these spells work best when we are truly, truly done holding on. Now, banishing and reversal magic is where the dark current kind of begins, but it's also where healing begins. In saying no, we say yes to something better. Okay, let's talk about binding spells. When enough is enough. Now, when protection alone isn't enough and harm continues to seep into our lives, we may reach for something more assertive, a magical boundary with real weight behind it. Now, this is the role of the binding spell. It's a spell not of attack, but of restriction. It is designed to halt harmful behavior, to kind of tie the hands of those who would wound, and to stop energy in its tracks without causing direct harm in return. Binding spells walk a kind of unique line in the magical world. They are not necessarily gentle, but they really aren't violent either. They're firm. They say, hey, this ends here. When used correctly, they are powerful forms of magical consent. Kind of a way of reclaiming power when someone or something is just repeatedly crossing a line. Now, the purpose of a binding spell is clear: to prevent further harm, right? These spells are often used in matters of protection and justice and prevention. A binding may be cast on a person who is spreading lies, manipulating others, or engaging in abusive behavior. But it may also be used to contain your own bad habits, your own intrusive thoughts or compulsions. It essentially kind of binds yourself to break free from something eternal. Now, what makes binding different from banishing is that it doesn't send the energy away. It like locks it in place. It puts a magical pause on whatever is causing the harm, neutralizing its ability to continue. For those who feel powerless in a difficult situation, this can be incredibly validating and healing. Now, an example of a binding spell might look like let's see, you write the name of a person who is gossiping, threatening, or abusing power on a piece of paper. Around their name, you write the words like silence, stop, or no more. Then you wrap the paper in black thread, binding it tight, while focusing on the specific behavior you wish to halt, not the person's like overall well-being. The bundle is then sealed in a jar, placed in a freezer maybe, or you bury it, depending on whatever your tradition is that you are working with. Now, binding spells often use thread or cords, something to physically wrap and restrict the energy. Poppets can be used, representing, the person or behavior in need of containment. Wax is used to kind of seal intent and prevent further movement. And then mirror shards or pins, in some more advanced traditions, can be used for very specific rituals. Ethics, as always, matter. These spells should not be used lightly or out of emotional impulse. They are best reserved for, situations where boundaries just have been crossed repeatedly and other methods have failed. This is not about revenge. It is about prevention and safety. Binding is one of the darker tools in our magical toolkit, but it can be wielded with wisdom. And when done with clear intention and firm purpose, I believe it sends a powerful, powerful message to the universe. Hey, the harm stops here, and I will not allow it to grow further. All right, let's talk about some hexes and curses, the sharp edge of the craft. When we talk about curses and hexes, we enter the most charged and controversial terrain in our practices. These spells are designed with clear, pointed intent to harm, to punish, or to return harm to its source. And while I think many avoid them altogether, others see them as valid, even sacred forms of magical justice. The truth, as always, lies in the nuance. Curses and hexes are not frivolous. They are not to be cast in anger, ever, over petty disputes or minor frustrations. These spells belong to the old ways, traditionally used in times of war, ancestral defense, or when all mundane and magical avenues of justice have been exhausted. In many cultures, cursing was not an act of evil. It was an act of protection, honor, and retribution. Now, when a wrong went unpunished, the curse became a final resort, one that demanded accountability from forces that refused to self-correct. To be clear, the purpose of a curse or hex is to cause harm, or to return harm in kind. Now, this might take the form of bad luck, emotional turmoil, public exposure, or energetic misfortune. It might be temporary, or it could be permanent. It might be light, or it could be heavy. It might be targeted at behavior or personhood. But whatever form it takes, the caster must be prepared to take full responsibility for its consequences, both magical and mundane. And of course, leads us right into the heart of the matter, which is some ethics. Curses and hexes are not inherently evil. They are tools, of course, right? They're sharp, though, and they're dangerous. And tools are only as ethical as the hands that wield them. So what matters most is the context and accountability. So please, please ask yourself, am I seeking justice or revenge? Have I tried other methods first, or is this my first reaction? Do I fully understand the consequences, not just for them, but also for me? And can I accept the karmic or energetic weight of this spell. I think there are experienced witches who curse with confidence, using their craft to protect the marginalized, to defend the voiceless, or confront deeply rooted harm. There are others who choose, honestly, to abstain completely, keeping their magic clear and clean of harm by personal vow. Both paths are valid. What matters is that your choice is informed, intentional, and aligned with your own moral compass. Some modern witches craft, maybe more like return to sender spells. It's a little softer alternative, kind of a way to reflect energy back without choosing its outcome. Others may use justice jars or crossing rituals or ancestor backed curses in extreme circumstances, especially in traditions where these practices are part of just like cultural survival. In the end, though, curses and hexes are a part of the magical world, whether we use them or not. They are the sharp edge of the blade, the storm behind the calm. And they remind us that witchcraft is not always pretty, but it's always, always powerful. Now, if you choose to walk this path, just walk it with clarity, protection, and purpose. And remember, real power is never careless. In our beautiful modern magical world, I do think many witches hesitate when it comes to hexes, not just because of their intention to harm, but because of the deep cultural, ethical, and energetic weight that they carry. This fear isn't always rooted in the spell itself, but in everything that surrounds it, right? The responsibility, the consequences, the reputation, and the long shadow of history. Now, one of the most common fears, I think, is whatever harm we send out will come back to us, threefold, tenfold, or with its own kind of retribution. While not every tradition believes in the rule of three, many witches do work with the concept of energetic balance. So if your spell is filled with rage and bitterness or harm, what does that do to your own spirit, right? This fear isn't just about punishment, it's about becoming entangled in the very energy that you are trying to repel. We've all been fed stories, right, through religion and media, even early witchcraft books that say hexes are evil and that good witches don't do dark magic. I think this fear is often rooted in Christianized moral dualism, which casts all baneful magic as black and therefore wrong. Even witches who don't consciously believe this still carry the internalized fear of being like bad or dangerous or out of control if they choose to hex. Many, especially those who are public with their practice, fear that casting a hex will damage their reputation in the community. Like, there's a pressure, I think, to always be kind of like high vibe, positive and healing. But the reality is, witches are complex beings, and magic is not only light. Still, there's that fear of judgment, of rejection, or of being called unethical. And sometimes it's enough to make many practitioners just steer clear of curses and hexes, even when they feel justified. A hex is not casual magic by any means. It asks you to sit with your anger and pain and that sense of injustice, and to focus on that energy with precision. That kind of spell casting requires emotional and spiritual maturity. It really asks you to be sure. And that's a heavy thing to hold. Many witches are not afraid of the spell itself, but what it might awaken in them. Rage, grief, vengeance, power. Hexes force us to confront our shadow. They just do, in raw and unfiltered ways. Some witches fear hexes simply because they just respect them. They know they are real, effective, and not to be used lightly. It's not fear in the sense of like weakness. It's fear in the sense of like reverence, right? A healthy dose of caution, just like you'd have before lighting, a controlled fire or holding a sharp blade, right? You just don't play with that kind of power unless you mean it. So why do witches fear hexing? Oh, goodness. Just because hexes demand clarity. They demand conviction and consequence because they hold the weight of centuries of misunderstanding and misuse. And because once you've chosen to hex, well, you've stepped outside that safe little circle of love and light and entered the realm of fire, shadow, and justice. Not every witch is called to this work, but those who are must walk it with awareness, not impulse, and with full ownership of their power. All right, let's talk about shadow work with spells in this darker side of magic too, like meeting ourselves in the dark. Not all spell work is cast outward. Some of the most powerful and profound magic that we ever do takes place within, in those little hidden corners of the heart, in the memories that we've worked so hard to bury, in the truths that we are afraid to name. This is the domain of shadow work spells, deeply personal rituals that ask us to face our internal darkness, not to shame it, but to transform it. The purpose of shadow work is not to banish parts of ourselves, but really to integrate them. When we engage in shadow magic, we look at our wounds and our triggers and our trauma, our guilt, our grief, like all of it. And we say, I see you. I'm ready to listen. These spells are not easy. They are not lighthearted, but they are deeply healing. And they help us reclaim the parts of ourselves that we were told to hide. So in doing so, they ultimately restore our power. Now, our shadow work spells are often going to be cast during the dark moon phase, the time when the sky is empty, silent, and open for descent. It is a liminal phase, perfect for going inward, shedding illusions, and doing that quiet, messy work of emotional and spiritual healing. Now, some tools that can be used with this type of shadow work spells, like ancestor altars would be good here, like where we sit with photos, objects, or offerings and seek insight or healing from those who came before us. These spells often ask, what pain did I inherit? And what cycle ends with me? We could do some mirror work with our shadow spells, gazing into a mirror and speaking difficult truths or affirmations out loud. This can be part of inner child healing, identity reclamation, or, confronting self-sabotage. Another good example of shadow work spells is going to be graveyard dirt. This can symbolize working with death energy, endings, or, connection to spirits who help us understand loss, legacy, or what needs to be laid to rest. Some examples of shadow work spells would include maybe like a dark moon ritual where you write down the emotions or beliefs that you are ready to release. Light a black candle for protection and safely burn or even bury the words calling on your guides to hold you in the process. This could look like maybe a inner child healing spell where you place a childhood photo on your altar, light a pink candle or maybe like a white candle, and speak words of love, safety, and validation to that younger version of you. This could also look like a trauma release spell where herbs like mugwort, rosemary are used in a bath or even like a smoke bundle to cleanse the emotional body and offer peace to long held wounds. This type of magic, this kind of magic requires gentleness and bravery. Shadow work is not about fixing ourselves, it's about facing ourselves. It is the spell we cast when we are tired of running. It's the moment when we choose wholeness over perfection. And here's the truth. The shadow holds gifts too, doesn't it? Like when we work with our darkness, we gain depth, compassion, and strength. When we stop projecting our pain outward and begin transmuting it into wisdom, oh, that's powerful. That is our power. Shadow work is not pretty, but it is beautiful. It is not easy, but it certainly is liberating. And for many of us, it is the most sacred spell of all. All right, now that we've explored a variety of types of spells, from blessing and healings to banishing, bindings, and beyond. Wait, did you just hear Buzz Lightyear? To infinity and beyond. All right, well, we just went there. You might be feeling inspired, maybe a little curious, or maybe a little overwhelmed. And you know what? That is perfectly okay. The truth is, there's no one right way to practice magic. Some witches love crafting every spell from scratch, pouring their energy into each line and layer. I think others prefer to use tried and true spells passed down through the books, teachers, or fellow practitioners. And there's deep wisdom in that too. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to cast. Spells created by others can still be incredibly effective, especially when you kind of tweak them and adapt them to fit your own voice and purpose. But for those of you who are ready to take that next step to learn how to create a spell that is uniquely yours, let's walk through the process together. And it all starts with the most important element of any workings, your intention. What do you want this spell to do, and how do you want it to feel? Let's begin there. Step number 1 is define the intention. Writing your own spell is one of the most empowering things that you can do as a magical practitioner. While it's wonderful to use traditional spells passed down through books and teachers, there is something uniquely powerful about crafting a spell that comes directly from your own heart, spirit, and needs. And like any good magic, it all begins with one essential element: intention. Okay, so step number 1, define the intention. Before you gather a single tool or light a single candle, you must get crystal clear on what you want the spell to do. This is not the time to be vague. Magic thrives on clarity, direction, and emotional resonance. Start by asking yourself, what am I trying to change? What energy am I calling in, or what energy am I releasing? And what outcome will I be getting? If your intention feels a little muddy, a little chaotic, your spell is likely going to reflect that energy. But when your intention is specific and grounded and emotionally clear, your spell becomes a focused arrow, not a scattered cloud. For example, instead of saying, I want love, try saying this: I am ready for a safe, mutual, and joyful romantic relationship. Instead of saying, I want to feel better, you could say, I release the sadness that no longer serves me, and I call in peace and self-trust. Little bonus tip here is to write your intention like a statement of fact, as if it is already happening. This is what we do. This is how we make our spells work so powerfully. This sends a strong signal to your subconscious and to the universe that the energy is already in motion. Affirm it with a phrase like, I am protected. Money flows to me freely and consistently. My voice is heard and respected. Or, healing surrounds and fills me. Think of this as writing the title of your spell, right? The guiding star. Everything you do next, from the herbs you choose to the candle color to the moon phase, will support this first step, the intention. And when your intention is right, the rest of the spell almost writes itself. Okay, step 2, choose the type of spell. Once your intention is clear and emotionally grounded, the next step is, in crafting your own spell, is to decide how that intention will come to life. Magic isn't one size fits all. Just as there are many different types of energy we work with, there are many styles of spellcraft. And you know what? Each one brings its own rhythm, symbolism, and power to the process. Okay, start by asking, what form of magic best matches the energy of this spell? So are you working with something that needs fire and action? Something that is more like slow and steady? Something hidden and subtle? So this choice really is just as much about personal connection as it is about magical correspondences. Like, what medium speaks to you? Here are some of the most common types of spell formats that you could probably work with. Candle magic, love, love, love. Perfect for transformation, intention setting, and quick energetic shifts. Flame is active and assertive, right? So it's ideal for spells of courage and love and banishing or drawing energy towards you. We've got jar or bottle spells. These work for, more like long-term spells, protection, attraction, or binding. They act like little magical containers, sealing in energy and building over time or even preserving intention. And we've got Knot Magic. This is a beautiful option for spells that involve binding, commitment, release, or repetition. Each knot tied is a symbolic action, a moment of magical reinforcement. We've got Sigil Magic. This is great for, discrete, long-term use. Sigils are drawn symbols created from your intention and then charged with energy. They can be placed in your wallet, carved into candles, hidden in plain sight, even worn. Another common type of spell format is going to be spoken charms and, incantations. These are really good and ideal for, like quick workings or when voice and breath are your most accessible tools. Words carry frequency, and speaking your intention aloud can be incredibly potent. We also have, teas and potion spells. These bring magic like into our bodies. They are perfect for healing, love, intuition, or internal transformation. Whether it's a soothing bath or a charged cup of herbal tea, potion work is intimate, sensory, and it's direct. Now, once you've narrowed down the form, take a moment to consider your spell's alignment. Is this spell light and blessing focused, or is it baneful and protective in like a darker way? Is it walking the gray area? Not really meant to harm, but not meant to soften either. Knowing your spell's energetic tone will help guide your choices in colors and herbs and timing, even honestly in the language. There's no shame in working with any aspect of the spectrum. What matters is your honesty and integrity in naming it. So, choosing the type of spell is like choosing the best vessel for your magic. Some intentions, they need fire. Some intentions really need water. Some need silence. Some need the steady binding of thread. So let your intuition kind of lead the way. Trust that the right form will rise to meet your message. So step 3, gather your correspondences. With your intention set and your spell type chosen, it's time to give your magic like its flavor, its texture, and elemental alignment. This next step is all about like gathering your correspondences, the herbs, the colors, the elements, the crystals, other symbolic tools that will help amplify and direct your spell's energy. Think of correspondences as the magical language of associations. Each item that you include in your spell really is a messenger, helping carry your intention into the unseen. So choosing the right one makes your spell more focused and layered and potent. But there's no need to overwhelm yourself here. This step is about alignment, not perfection. So start with the elements. It's the easy one, right? It's our core. It's our basics. Every spell works within the natural world. So begin by asking which elemental force supports this working the best. Earth. This is for grounding, stability, abundance, fertility, and protection. Air is going to be for communication, clarity, our ideas, breath, and movement. Fire is for transformation, action, courage, passion, and destruction. Water is for healing, intuition, love, emotion, and cleansing. So let the core of your intention guide your elemental focus, and then choose tools that represent that energy. Layer in additional correspondences if you can, right? This is the creative part. Adding magical ingredients that speak the same language as your spell's purpose are going to really give it that punch. So herbs, rosemary for protection, basil for prosperity, rose for love. Use them dried, fresh, in oils or as incense. You could grab a crystal. Black tourmaline for warding, citrine for abundance, or moonstone for intuition. You could grab the moon phase. Time your spell with lunar energy. New moons for beginnings, full moon for power, waning for release, and dark moon for shadow work. You can get creative with adding some deity or spirit ingredients into your spell. If you work with deities or ancestors, consider inviting in those whose domain matches your intention. Hecate for crossroads, Brigid for healing, Mercury for communication. Colors, that's an easy one to add too, right? Colors add vibration. Green for money, red for passion, black for banishing, white for purity, purple for power. Use them in candles, in cloths, in your ink. Use them in offerings. Then we could also grab some magical ingredients like planetary hours or days of the week, right? Align your spell with planetary timing for that extra punch. Think about like Thursday for Jupiter's abundance, or Tuesday for Mars' strength and fight and protection. The most important rule, I say, make it yours. Personal correspondences are incredibly powerful. If daisies remind you of your grandmother's unconditional love, use them. If a certain stone from your childhood beach holds deep, deep meaning, bring it. If the scent of cinnamon makes you feel just unstoppable, frickin' light it up. Your intuition and memory are a part of your magical lineage. Trust them. Spells become more than rituals when they're built from the symbols and sensory cues that matter to you. That's where the real power lives, not just in books or traditions, but in your relationship with the world around you. So I say take your time. Create a little table, a list, even, just gather what you have on hand. You don't need a fancy apothecary to create effective magic. Just intention, alignment, and belief. All right, let's go to the next step. How to write your own spell. Step number 4, just write the words. Now that your intention is clear, your spell type has been chosen, and your correspondences are gathered, it is time to breathe life into the ritual with words. Spoken or written, whispered or shouted, words shape energy. They direct will, and they bridge the inner and the outer worlds. Not all spells require language, but when they do, I just think your words become the heartbeat of the spell, like the spell's voice. Now, this step doesn't require you to be a poet or even a writer. It simply asks for clarity, focus, and belief. Whether your words are elaborate or simple, formal or casual, what matters most is that they feel true to your intention and they resonate deeply in your body and spirit. Okay, let's see, to rhyme or not to rhyme? You know which side I fall on this one? Because every one of my episodes ends in a rhyming poem. Some witches love rhyming because it builds rhythm, emotion, and momentum. Rhymes are easier to memorize too. And, they kind of tend to feel more spell-like in a traditional sense. For example, by flame and breath, by root and stone, I cast the spell, I stand alone. Harm be gone, I hold my space. Let peace and power now take place. If that speaks to you, that is great. Now, other witches prefer direct, non rhyming language that feels maybe a little bit more natural and conversational. So that could look like saying, I release the pain I've carried. I welcome peace into my bones. Let what no longer serves me fade, now and always. There's no wrong choice here. The form should match your tone and your purpose. Your intuition just kind of guide you here. But include invocation, affirmation, and some type of command, right? Spells often include 3 main types of statements. Like you can blend them or use whichever feels right. We've got an invocation, affirmation, and a command. The invocation is the calling in help or energy, right? Hecate, guardian of the crossroads, guide me now. Or spirits of the 4 winds, I welcome your protection. Then we need some type of affirmation, right? Speaking your truth into existence. I am safe. I am grounded. I am whole. Love flows to me easily and freely. And last, you need some type of command in your statement, a direct, magical instruction. Let the cord be severed and the tie be broken. I call forth clarity, come now and stay. Use present tense and power words. When writing your spell, speak aloud as though it's already happening. Use the present tense to signal certainty and immediacy to your spirit, your tools, and to the universe. Words like now, so it is, so mote it be. I call forth, I claim, it is done. These phrases act like magical punctuation marks, like they anchor your spell, declare your will, and they seal the energy with confidence. Even if your spell is silent or internal, you can still write a small phrase to carry in your pocket, carve into a candle, whisper over your tea, or just etch into a sigil. Your words don't have to be perfect, but they do need to be your words. So just take a breath, pick up your pen, and let the magic write itself through you. All right, we are on step 5. And for this, I say create a ritual flow. With your intention written, your tools gathered, and your words ready, if you are using them, it is time to bring the spell to life through some type of ritual. Like this is the part where your planning becomes action, where you step into sacred space and move energy through the world with focus and intention. Every spell benefits from this structure. Not rigid, but like it's rhythm. Having a simple flow, a ritual flow, helps you stay grounded and present while the magic unfolds. Think of it in 3 parts: the opening, the middle, and the closing. Just like a story, your spell should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, let's do the opening, the prepare and call in part of our spell. Before you begin the magical act itself, take time to prepare the space, your energy, and the spiritual landscape. This might include, cleansing the space, right, with smoke, sound, salt, or breath. It just kind of clears any lingering energy and sets the tone. It could look like centering yourself. Breathe deeply, meditate, or recite your intention to come fully into the moment. It could look like calling in elements and ancestors or guides. If this is part of your practice, invite the energies that support you. You could say, spirits of earth, air, fire, and water, I welcome your presence in this working. The opening creates the container for your magic. It really just tells the universe, hey, I'm here, I'm focused, this is sacred. Okay, now the middle part, performing the spell. This is where you do the work. This is the heart of your ritual. Depending on the spell type, this could include lighting a candle, chanting your intention. It might include tying knots or dressing a candle or carving a sigil. It might look like, anointing tools or even yourself with oil. It might look like drinking a potion or bathing in a magical herbal blend. And it could look like speaking your words aloud or just visualizing the outcome clearly. This is the moment to focus like whole of your energy on the spell's purpose. Feel it in your body, like see it happening. Let the rhythm of the action, the lighting, the tying, the stirring, the speaking, let it draw your energy towards the spell's peak. When it feels like something has shifted, when the air feels charged and your heart feels steady, you will know it's time to close. Once you've spoken your intention, performed your ritual, and worked your magic, there is one final and vital step that brings it all together: the sealing and releasing of the energy. No matter what type of spell you are casting, light, dark, whispered, wild, you should always close the energy formally. This final act is what tells the universe, your spirit and your tools, hey, the work is done. The spell is active. The rest is not mine to carry. So we're going to seal the spell. This is where you anchor your intention into reality with a phrase, a gesture, or an action, something that declares completion. It could be simple, it could be ceremonial, but it should be clear and intentional. Many witches are going to use some version of, with harm to none, my will be done. Or they might say, as I speak, so shall it be. Or they might say, it is done. It is sealed, so mote it be. Now you can create your own sealing phrase that reflects your style and your ethical code. The key is to speak it with confidence and finality. There's no lingering doubts. No, oh gosh, I hope this works. It's done. It will work. The energy listens to certainty. And then we're going to release the spell. Once it is sealed, release the spell to the universe. Let it go. This is one of the hardest parts for many practitioners. Not revisiting, not obsessing, not over checking the outcome. It's hard to trust me. But we need to trust that our work was enough, that the seed has been planted and the spell is in motion. Now, some witches are going to imagine blowing the spell into the wind, dropping it into the water, or watching the candle burn out as the final release. Others, they might bury the remnants, offer them to the fire, or place them on an altar until the intention manifests. Whatever your method is, the message should be the same. I release this working. I trust it's unfolding. I let it go. This act of surrender is really what transforms a ritual into real magic. Like you've done your part. And now the universe moves with you. Spells don't need to be perfect to be powerful. What they need is clear intention, aligned action, and respectful closure. By sealing and releasing your magic, you really do create that clean, energetic boundary, one that honors both your will and the mysterious timing of the world around you. You are the spell. Your words are the wind. Your will is the wand. Okay, guys, hopefully this has been super helpful for you as we close up here today. This deep dive into spellcraft. Let's take a moment just to honor the full spectrum of magic that we walked through. From the gentle light of blessings and healing spells to the empowering strength of protection and manifestation, and all the way into the more shadowed realms of banishing, binding, hexing, and ancestral communication. Whether rooted in love or justice, expansion or release, these type of spells remind us that magic meets us where we are. Spells don't have to be complicated, but they do need to be personal. That's the real magic, when we bring our full selves, our intention, our voice, our truth to the ritual. So I encourage you to experiment with your own spell work. Start small. Be curious. Write your spells in a journal. Note what you felt, what you used, and what shifted. There is no better teacher than your own experience. And you know what? I would love to hear what you're working on. If you have any questions, spells you've written, or experiences to share, come connect with me over on Patreon. Our community is growing and your voice belongs in it. This is how we learn, through shared wisdom, reflection, and support. And to help you get started with all of this that we've talked about today, I have created a downloadable spellcraft worksheet that will walk you through writing your very first spell from start to finish. It includes prompts for intention setting, choosing your spell type, gathering correspondences, writing your incantation, and outlining your ritual flow. It is available right now over on Patreon. Just click print and begin. Okay, my friends, my witchy work wishes family, I do have a poem just for today's episode, and of course the moon update for this week. I'm going to go grab those notes, and I will be right back. All right, the spell for today's episode is called Did I just say the spell for today's episode? Oh, it's been a really long week. I'll give all the personal updates next week, but oh my goodness, you guys. Okay, the poem for today's podcast and today's episode is called The Spell I Weave. And it goes. In silence soft by candles' gleam, I gather threads of thought and dream. A whisper stirs, the cauldron calls, the spell is born as twilight falls. With breath I speak what's in my soul, intent the fire, belief the goal. I mark the moon, I stir the tea, and carve my will in word and tree. A pinch of time, a knot of thread, the names I've called, the tears I've shed, a sigil drawn in secret ink, a charm that makes the shadows blink. The herbs remember, stones reply, as incense curls into the sky. The veil grows thin, the circle holds, and through my hands the magic folds. I seal it tight with ancient phrase, a rhyme, a vow, a sacred blaze. Then let it go, like breath on air, released with trust and silent care. So mote it be, or so it flows. The witch within me always knows that spells aren't just in books or art. They rise from truth and soul and heart. Okay, our moon update this week. The waning gibbous moon, actually, I think we are coming right on a last quarter moon for Wednesday, the 17th of July. What does this mean for us? It's a powerful moment of release, recalibration, and refinement. It is the final turning before the dark moon, a liminal phase where we are asked to let go of what didn't work, tie up those loose ends, and prepare for the inward pull of the waning cycle. This moon phase is ideal for, letting go of limiting beliefs, breaking bad habits, reflecting on the outcomes of your recent spell work or goals. It's about forgiving others, maybe yourself. It's about decluttering physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Write a list of what no longer serves you, behaviors, thoughts, relationships, fears, and safely burn or even bury the list while whispering, "What has served its time, I now release. I make space for stillness, softness, and peace." This can also be done with bay leaves, each one holding something you are letting go of. Use this phase to wipe down, smudge, or maybe organize your magical tools in sacred spaces. Might even cleanse your journal or your mirror if you've done a lot of shadow work recently. This is a great time to bind a behavior that you are done with. It's a great time to close an energetic portal or relationship. And it's a great time to reflect on a hex or a justice spell that you've cast and evaluate its impact. Let this last quarter moon be your little magical cleanup crew, a sacred sweep through your energy field before we begin the descent into the dark moon. It's not about perfection, it's about honesty, acceptance, and empowered release. I do want to say before we go how truly thankful I am to have each and every one of you, part of the Witchy Work Wishes family. Your energy, your curiosity, and your presence here make this space so sacred. Whether you've been listening, since the beginning or you just found your way to our circle, you belong here. And I am so grateful to walk this magical path with you. If today's episode sparked something in you, or if you found wisdom, comfort, or a little witchy fire in any of our previous shows, oh gosh, you guys, I would love if you would take a moment to share the episode, leave a review, or send it to a fellow magic maker. Every like and comment and share helps our community grow. And it makes sure that other witches and seekers and soul-aligned listeners can find their way to our circle too. Together, we are building something beautiful, and I am so honored to have you in it. Until next time, keep your spell work sacred, your heart open, and your magic alive. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week and a great weekend. I will talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.